In this video, I'm going to work through the literal equations on our Chapter 2 in-class review packet, and I'm going to just do one video for all 9 of these problems. So if area is equal to length times the width, if I want to get my width all alone, I just need to divide by the length that I don't want anymore. So here now my width will be alone, and the area divided by the length is going to be equal to the width. Now I'm going to jump to this problem because it's almost identical to this one except for we're solving for the other letter. So again, if length and width are being multiplied together, you undo one of the terms by using an inverse operation. So if the operation is multiply, you divide to move it to the other side of the equal sign. So area divided by the width will equal your length. So those two are similar, so I just wanted to do those kind of together. Okay, now for letter B, if I have 3 terms being multiplied, you can actually divide by more than one term at the same time. So if I want my h by itself, I want to undo the multiply by b and the w so that those will cancel and the h will be alone. But you got to make sure that you do that to both sides. So volume divided by your base and your width will equal your height. Okay, now I'm going to do these two next because they're mostly similar to each other. I'm going to rewrite this maybe to help you see this just a little bit differently. I feel like it might help. 1/3 of FG is the same as FG divided by 3. That's 1/3 of FG. So 1 times F times G, and then you're dividing by 3. So to get my letter F alone, first I want to get rid of the fraction. So that's why you multiply by 3 to start. So I have 3m is equal to F times G. Now if I want to get rid of the g because I want my f by itself, I'm going to undo the multiplication by dividing by g, and this is your answer. 3m divided by g. I bet you now you could do this one successfully. So to get rid of my 1/4, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 4 over 1. And 4 over 1, 4 divided by 1 is just 4. So 4m, that's going to cancel this fraction on this side by multiplying by 4. So that equals E times F. Well, if E times F is equal to 4m, and I want the E alone, undo the times by my F, and you'll have your letter E isolated. All right, now I'm gonna do this one last, actually. So I'm gonna focus on these two next because these are gonna be what you're gonna use in our chapter 5, which is in this unit, chapter 5, it's going to be like graphing straight lines. And normally what we do is solve for that function that looks like this, y equals mx plus b. And so what we're going to do is change the standard form of this equation into slope-intercept form, which looks like this. So I'm going to start by moving the x term to the opposite side of the equal sign as the y. So this is 2x plus 7y. So I'm going to subtract the 2x to the other side because right now those two things are being added together. So the inverse operation to move it would be subtract. So 7y is now equal to, now notice, do you see here that your x term is in the front? I'm going to keep my minus 2x, that term in the front, and the 17, the number term, I'm going to leave second because that's how we normally graph our lines, as slope-intercept form. And the mx is our negative 2x, and the b here is your 17. Now, if I'm going to isolate my y, I have to get rid of the multiplication by 7. So I'm going to divide by 7. Now, when you do it to both sides, you got to do the whole side, not part of it. And then we're going to simplify our fractions if we can. 2 over 7, this is not going to reduce. And I don't think 17 over 7 reduces either. So actually, I'm just going to leave it 17 over 7. And there you go. Okay, here's the next one. Kind of like how we started off here. So the x is already on the opposite side where we had to move it here. Here it's already on the opposite side. So now all I got to do is get rid of a coefficient of negative 5. When you see a number bumped up to the letter, that implies the operation is multiply. And so what we're going to do is divide by the 5 and the negative sign. That way our y is alone and positive. So 6 divided by negative 5, and then for our y-intercept, our b, negative 10 divided by negative 2, 2 negatives cancel out and make a positive. I'm sorry, I think I said 2 here. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Okay, now these two are awfully similar, and they're a little bit like this one and this one, where we have to work with getting rid of the fraction. And I talked about here multiplying by reciprocal. That's what I'm going to do here. Because if I want 1k, I don't want to distribute the 2/3, because then I'm going to have 2/3 k, and I'm going to have to undo that later. So to avoid having to do work and undo it, I'm going to get rid of the fraction right away by multiplying by what's called the reciprocal. So it's your fraction flipped upside down. Just be careful, make sure you actually do flip it upside down. And here I will have k minus 17 now is equal to 3/2 of r. I'm going to write the coefficient, the 3/2, in front of the r. And now to get the k by itself, we want this term alone. I'm going to add the 17 over to the right side. So I have 2/3 r plus 17. Okay, now letter H is a lot like this one. So we started with multiplying by reciprocal, and then we moved our number term to the other side. So here my reciprocal I'm going to start with is multiplying by a 5/3. So that's this fraction flipped upside down, 5/3. So those will cancel out, and I'm left with m minus 11. And that's going to equal 5/3 n. I'm going to move my coefficient in front of the letter. If you notice, we always put a coefficient in front of the letter here, and I mean on all of these, here's a coefficient in front of the letter, so make sure that coefficient goes in front. And then I'm going to get my m by itself by adding 11 to the other side. So m is equal to 5/3 n plus 11. And there you have it.